Hi. First and foremost, please forgive the cigarette. And yeah, it's a drink. No, I'm not a drinker. And I hate brandy. But a brandy, hot water and sugar. When I talk about the subject next, I'm going to talk about I always need a cigarette and a drink. Because it is one of the most difficult things I have to deal with. Thank God I'm not called out very often to see to this thing. I think it happens a lot more than what I'm told about, but I can only bring 3, maybe 4 to mind that I've dealt with on the file. But I'm sure there's lots more. And actually, I say 3 I did deal with, the 4th one was myself. There's such a thing as a thing called an incubus. Now if you spell it, it's I-N-C-U-B-U-S. That's the male form. The female form is a succubus, S-U-C-C-A-B-U-S. Now, if I just use them words to you, the majority of you will say, what the heck is that? When I start talking to you, it'll dawn on you. You may not have experienced this, a few of you will have done. I always get very agitated when I do this one. Dealing with it, as I said, is difficult. Dealing with the person it's happening to is even more difficult and really gets me annoyed. I get phone calls and they're normally from females. I believe this happens to males as well, but very few males will come on that phone and tell me this. In fact, they won't, because they're enjoying it to a certain time, and then when it becomes threatening and it starts working against them, yes, but they still will not say what it is. So I have been out to so-called haunted houses where someone is coming in the middle of the night and getting into bed with people. A man will say it's an entity, he will not say it's a woman or a man. A lot of these situations take place, and I will explain to you what I'm talking about in a few moments. And people think it's just either a nightmare or an erotic dream or just a fancifulness of their mind. It's not. It's very real. Let me give you a couple of examples. I'll give you one example. I'd had 2 successes with this, being called out by females who said to me, Paula, a man comes to visit me in the night and I don't know how to say this. And I say, how do you feel? Love makes love to you. Well, yeah. I'll say, so, right. Are you asking me to stop it? Asking me to explain it? Or what? And they say, well, it was, I say, all right in the beginning. Now it's becoming too much. It's every night. It's exhausting. It's becoming very threatening. They go, yeah, I don't know. I say, have you done this, have you done that, have you done the other? Yes. I say, okay, my darling, you've got an incubus visiting you. Now what is an incubus? An incubus is a shadowy figure, not human, but not animal, and it comes to visit females in the night, but normally by their request. Wait a minute, hold on. I said this to one woman, she said, I've never asked anybody to come to me in the night. I said, no. You've laid in bed at night saying, God, send me a man. Send me a man, I need a man in my life. I miss my husband. I haven't had a boyfriend for 15 years. I need a man, I need a man. You got him. They call it, in some cultures, the spirit husband. Which is fine if he was just a spirit husband and he came maybe once a week. But they get very demanding, because the more experiences they have with you, the stronger they become, the easier they can manifest, because they live off your life force, your sexuality. And when it's happening to you, at first it'll be, oh, I had a funny dream last night, bloody hell. And then it becomes, oh God, it's happened every night now this week. And when a person comes home from work and they've got 2 hours off work and they sit down in a chair and the next minute they're drowsy and the next minute someone's making love to them and they stay there for 2 or 3 hours so they're late getting to work now, it's becoming very threatening. And this does happen. All saying, be careful of what you wish for. You may get it. A couple of females, one middle-aged in her 50s, 56, lost her husband and did cry for him every night. She thought she'd got him. When this shadowy figure got into bed with her and made love to her just as her husband would have done, she thought he was back. Much to her regret, she found out it wasn't him. It took me about 8 weeks to disperse him, and I don't think she'll ever be asking for her husband to come back again. I think she'll wait until she joins him. The other one was a young girl, about 27, 28. I can't mention names unless they allow me to, but I never say anything I cannot prove. The third one, now that was quite easy actually. I jumped ahead. That was quite easy actually. I took about a week to get rid of him. I went 3 times. Excuse me smoking. As I say, this stresses me. I'd rather deal with any one of the 72 spirits of Solomon. Them I can control. These I have to do battle with. And the third one called me out. What worried me most was she had a 9-year-old son at the time, nearly 10. And I was afraid for him more than her. If they started visiting him as well as his mother, then we could have a few problems manifesting in this child. And a lot of children. I had a bad dream. Never mock them. Bring them into your bed and put your arms around them and protect them. It could be this, more than likely not this, but it could be this. And a lot of young males actually have this problem because they are sexual from 12 to 18 and they think about it all the time, and yeah, they will bring in like attracts like. But they don't say much because it's normally the male that comes to them and yeah. Or the female will, but she'll use and she'll abuse them. I went along to see this young female with this young son, and she was she was terrified, absolutely terrified. She said to me, oh Paula, help me, please help me, I'm exhausted every night, 2 and 3 times a night. She said, and I'll tell you what. I said, yeah, it leaves evidence behind. No, this is not in a person's mind. They leave physical evidence behind of sexuality. And so the next time he comes, don't touch anything, get out of that bed. Well, the smell in that bed, and the girl was clean, the bedding was clean, the smell in that bed, I knew what I was dealing with. And I decided to work with her. I thought this is going to take a month at least, maybe 6 weeks. And bear in mind, I don't get paid for doing this type of work. So I had to fit her in once or twice a week, whenever I could. And she was very willing at first. And when I went along, on about the 4th, 5th visit, it's all right, I think it's gone. And I said, gone? No. I'm good, dear, but I'm not that good. Huh? But she would volunteer no more information. Her son, in the same room, looked at me, and I looked at his eyes, and his eyes told me he was terrified. And I went, what? Looking back and forth between the mother and the son, and I went, I called her to one side of the kitchen and I said, listen to me, it's not gone. I don't know why you don't want this doing anymore. It's fine by me. I've got a lot on my plate and a lot of things to do. I said, but be warned. When he's finished with you, it could start on him. And she went, I don't think so. Really? All of a sudden, she's become an expert on a succubus and an incubus. Huh. The reason I know about this is because one attacked me. Now, I've always said everything I know, everything I say to you, is because I have experienced it. And most people say, bloody hell, she's experienced everything. No, I haven't experienced everything. But everything I talk on, it has touched me in some manner, shape or form. I always say I was taught practical by spirit to do my job. If I don't understand you, it's because I've not got the understanding. So let me feel it. And I feel it. And one day in the psychic centre on the promenade, be about 1993, I was just talking to my husband, there was only him and I present, and all of a sudden I found myself going down to the floor. I'm not going to describe in detail what happened next, but my husband was perfectly aware of what was happening. And at first he was laughing. Well, he wasn't laughing. At first he was very worried, and he tried to stop the situation and could not. And then afterwards he roared with laughter. He said, now you know what happens. So when an incubus attacks you, I said I wouldn't mind, but it wasn't an incubus, it was a succubus. And he said, well, he said, now you'll understand more. And I did. It was only after that I started working with people who had this situation. I didn't take it seriously at first. After that I did. I've never had the situation since. I'm perfectly aware of what's going to happen. And immediately it starts happening, they go away. Now, as I say, most people dismiss this at first as just being a dream. And a lot of people, believe it or not, will be contacting me after this because it's happening to them. And if they tell anybody, they say, oh, just enjoy it. And they go, yeah. And I say, oh, it's just a nightmare. Or you need some sleeping pills, go to your doctor. Or your nerves are shot. Rubbish. They have no one to turn to. So if it's happening to you, my darling, I'll tell you how to deal with it and do my best to help you. I found out later on the grapevine that this young female who no longer needed my help someone had made contact with her, a man. Don't know who he is, I did. At the time, I don't know. I told her he was writing a book on this and he wanted her in the book. And not to allow me to interfere as he couldn't use her in the book. Silly girl. She thought, fame, I'm going to be in a book and I'm going to be famous. Rubbish. 1, he never got the book off the ground. 2, he never had any chance in the first place because he had very little knowledge, else he would not have told her to refuse help. He'd have told her to get as much help as she can, then relate a story to him. But no, he wanted it first hand. I think he saw it and I think he ran. She was being used. Anyway, about 6 weeks after she told me to go, she rang me up. I really felt like telling her to go and jump off the computer, but something overrode them instincts in me, and I said, okay, I'll come round. And when I went round, she was in bits. So was her son. And she said, I want to talk to you. I said, I don't want to talk to you, I want to talk to your son. And I took him to one side and said, you can tell me, are they coming to see you? And he said, only when I sleep in my mother's bed. Oh my God. It's a male. I said, sleep in your own bed. I'm going to put some salt around your bed. I'm going to put a cloak of protection around your bed. And when he comes, I want you to say, I will send for the white buffalo. Go now. Actually, he was never bothered again. The mother was. I mean, it was even a year later, she was still saying to me, help me, help me, help me. And I said, do you not understand when you refused me, you gave him the rights, you overrode me. He will not listen to me anymore. I went one more time and I demanded he showed himself. And when he did, I was horrified. It was one of the 72 spirits of Solomon. And a good magician, a good sorcerer, a good psychic being can handle the 72 spirits of Solomon. She can't. So ladies, if you are wanting a male, don't keep asking for one. Allow God to send him in his own time, because you might just get an incubus. And incubuses are wonderful at first. They are fantastic. You will never experience sex like it. But then they get very demanding, very naughty, and they demand everything. And you know, they just overpower you. They put their hand on you or breathe on you, and you're putty in their hands. And they will use and they will abuse you because your energy is being given to them and helping them to manifest and become stronger and stronger. If you look in the Bible, if you believe in the Bible, which actually is a very good story, but does have a lot of knowledge in it, although if you can read between the lines. And in it says, and the Word became flesh. Very few people understand what that means. It means you can, if you ask enough, create an archetype form. So you are creating this yourself by asking. If one visits you when you have not asked, I asked you to look into your subconscious and see if you did. But if one visits you and you've not asked, then the law of the cosmos says they must go. That is why the first two were easy for me to deal with. They had not asked. Only the first one, the 56-year-old. When she realised it was not her husband, she then refused and stood firm and sent it away. Other ones didn't ask. And they just popped in and took what they wanted. You have to stand firm. You are in possession. You are in control. Do not be possessed by them. Because that's all they're there for. One and only thing. There are many entities on this earth plane. Many beings that visit this earth plane. The majority of them are very, very good. Some are here purely to test man. And they talk about the fallen angels. And I truly believe that the angels who so-called fell, like Lucifer, the devil you call him, well, the word Lucifer, there's another word for Lucifer, it's called Vesta. And I don't know if you remember the old days when our matches were called Vesta matches, the light. I really do believe that most of these bad angels, fallen angels, actually volunteered to fall, to test mankind. What a horrible thought that you step down from grace to be a sounding board for man. Because if there is no evil, how do we know how to be good? If there is no temptation, how do we know to choose the light, the right hand side? So I'm going to hold up my opinion back of whether the devil is a bad thing or not. No, I am not a Satanist. I look at it from a very practical point of view. And I really believe some of these so-called bad angels, as I've said, volunteered to help us, to show us, to tempt us. And we have the rights, we have free will to say yes or no. So if an incubus or a succubus visits you, and you know it's not quite right, you may enjoy it the first time, but you know something is wrong, then before they get a grip on you, get rid of them. It's your life, not theirs. They have no rights to be there. It's your energy you're putting out. I've never had a visit again. I won't allow the second visit. And males understand this. The female that comes to you may be everything you've ever desired. But if you could see what it really was, you wouldn't let it touch you with a barge pole at 20 paces, and it will become more demanding, demanding, demanding. Most men say, oh, sex, on tap, 3 times a night. When it becomes 30 times a night, you are wasted. And when you know you're being used, that's when your spirit will start to despair. You can always contact me. I know males won't. But I am available to help you with this. I've helped one quite recently. And it was very successful. So, God bless. And be careful what you wish for. You may just get it.